that's what I'm trying to understand. Like, how...
Where do you live?
I live in Michigan.
What part?
I live 45 minutes outside of Detroit.
There's a problem. Move to a major metropolitan area where men make more. See? I've been telling women this too. See, another thing, let me go ahead and... A lot of you ladies think you're going to just get something for nothing. You're going to have to sacrifice. You're going to have to move. You're going to have to... You may have to move, change religions. You may have to, if you got kids, and the man is serious about not having kids, you may have to shift the custody goes to the dad. Can he manage the money? Can he discipline the kids like they're his own? See, all these things come into play. It's not as though there's a shortage of men, but what are you willing to sacrifice to get what it is you want?
Upon reviewing the comment thread to my most recent production pertaining to this viral video with one Kevin Samuels and the black woman in question, it has become blatantly obvious to me that I've ruffled the feathers of many of you Negroes here on YouTube. I have received a slew of comments from black men, many of you Negroes which are classifying me as a simp. Some of y'all are saying that I sound like Derek Jackson. Others are saying, well, you must have just recently found some woman on YouTube because these are simp talking points, and we're gonna conclude that this is a single mother. I mean, I'm receiving numerous different comments saying the same thing from black men. So essentially what you have are black men who are making unsubstantiated, baseless claims on what they think is related to my lifestyle. And this right here only furthermore goes to elaborate for me what I've already been saying about black men, in addition to them not understanding optics, but they have zero to no analytical skills. And furthermore, they cannot process basic information. And I've stated this years ago, I believe sometime roughly around 2013, I've stated this about black men. When black men can't seem to process information, or when they cannot analyze or dissect, what they do is they bring things down to their lowest common denominator. And typically that revolves around sex, which is why you hear black men sitting around stating, you must be, or have just found some woman in your life and it has to be a single mother. First of all, what if I did just recently find some woman in my life? How could you prove that this would be a single mother? How do you substantiate any of this? I mean, none of it actually makes any sense, but this is what black men are saying. Furthermore, for those of you who are referring to me as a simp, let me just make this perfectly clear. I've been on YouTube for damn near a decade. As a matter of fact, come this January, which will be less than a month, will make it 10 years since I've been on YouTube. My reputation speaks for itself. I have absolutely nothing to prove to anybody here on YouTube. And as a matter of fact, if I wanted to stop producing content and never produce another production on this channel again, I could do that. Why? Why can I say this? Because everything that I've told you black men about black women has come to fruition. I've told you what was coming down the pipeline, and I'll be damned if it hasn't made its way down that pipeline. Let's just take this for instance. We can go back to 2015, 5 years ago. I created a second channel where I made 2 classic videos titled The Kamikaze Mind State of Black Women. Now, I don't produce any more content on that channel. I still have it. Those videos are set to private, but those videos received a lot of views within a short period of time. And what I have done was given you a breakdown on what you can expect when it comes down to many of these women. I've given you stuff that you can anticipate. We could take this back to last year with April Mason, the black woman who was all about black love, who literally, her and her cousin concocted a story about black men, attempting to essentially throw black men under the goddamn bus. by stating that she was almost abducted by 3 black men who followed her into a gas station and was literally following her around in a Dodge Charger. Then come to find out none of what she said was true, not even remotely. And then I gave you a breakdown as of what took place, because the same female who was all about black love and campaigning black men, all of a sudden is now talking about find love where you can. I've given you a breakdown on what that mentality is that you're dealing with. And in order for these women to be justified in the eyes of outside people, and even to their own, whether it be simp-ass black men, whether it be gullible black women, what they have to do is make themselves a victim. And how do they make themselves a victim? They got to throw themselves in front of the bus, all at the quote-unquote behest of you, black man, which is essentially what they do. This is another reason why they talk about this hashtag burn the cape and stay home. And as many times as these women say this, now these are females who have popular YouTube channels who say this. And we're more than certain that many black women who find themselves out here marching and protesting for black men have seen these videos and have heard these talking points, but yet and still will still continue to go out there and march and protest for black men. Supposedly. For those who don't understand this, they're protesting and marching for black men. For those who have trained eyes such as I do, you know good and damn well that's a fallacy. But in order for them to justify what it is they want to do, she has to depict herself in a position where she has just done so much for you, and she has given all that she can give you to the point where you have not reciprocated, where she has nothing left to give you. And if she can perpetuate herself as a perpetual victim, then guess what? It now becomes justified for when you hear the talking points of find love where you can. And this is exactly what April Mason stated. I used to be all about you black men. Now, mind you, that this is a single woman saying how she was all about black men. But now after this, I say find love where you can. I've given y'all a breakdown on this. I explained the mentality to you. I told you what you can expect. I told you what you need to look out for. So therefore, when I see you Negroes coming to my comment thread, classifying me as a simp, you Negroes got some motherfucking nerve talking that stupid shit to me. I am the last one that you can ever refer to as a goddamn simp. I've given you Negroes everything that you need to know to be able to prepare yourself for games like this. I've given you Negroes a classic breakdown on what is it that you can expect. I've showcased how you Negroes on how females like this would depict themselves as victims. Just like with Aisha Evans. All of that in one classic video, and I broke it down. Then furthermore, later on, the beginning of this year, we know that April Mason had a live stream or did a video, a one-on-one video with Crystal and Carrington. They met up in each other's cities and they sat down together and did a video. One who actually left a comment, or one of you black men who came to my comment thread, said it's actually scary how accurate he was in this video. I know. I have given y'all a breakdown, so therefore I find it most deeply offensive when I can look at a group of milk toast, milk biscuit Negroes, SYSBM Negroes coming along, and y'all got the audacity to classify me as a simp. Now, these baseless, unsubstantiated claims that the Negro is trying to make, saying, well, you're dating a single mother. You must have recently found some woman in your life. Oh my God. I mean, I sit back and I scratch my head. Listen, I just mentioned a little while ago, I've been on YouTube for damn near 10 years. Okay? So, do you think within all the time frame that I've been on YouTube that I've been sleeping under a fucking rock? That I haven't interacted with women? That I've just been locked up in a room somewhere? I mean, what do you Negroes literally think when y'all sit up and say some shit like that? So do you think for 1 second that if I come across a woman in my life, then all of a sudden my talking points change? No. I've dealt with women since I've been on YouTube. Many of them which have known about my content that I produce on YouTube, my talking points do not change. I stand on what I believe in. It is just that simple. And if anybody that I'm dealing with doesn't like it, then she has the option to leave. She doesn't have to stay with me. That's the way I look at it. I don't shame nobody into any goddamn thing. But when you Negroes are sitting back saying this, I mean, furthermore, where would you classify a single mother from? Where would that come from? But this is what the Negroes are under the impression, and what they believe is that I was trying to convince them to date single mothers. Makes absolutely no goddamn sense. And furthermore, what it lets me know is they don't understand my position. They don't. You can make it as clear as day to them, and they can't pick this up. I've told these Negroes back since 2017, that if you build it, women will follow. I've been preaching this shit for years now, to stop finding yourselves debating with these females, because I knew back then that it would get you absolutely nowhere. So when I got Negroes who are running around drawing these baseless, unsubstantiated claims, drawing frivolous conclusions because they cannot process what it is that I'm stating, and they think that I'm a simp and I'm out here caping for black women, no. I'm going to make it perfectly clear once again. I told you Negroes that I'm not a pro-black. However, I am pro-black empowerment. That's what I stand for. I've told you Negroes since 2017 that if you don't have a strong tribe, you will easily be picked apart as a single individual. This is how other groups of people function. Despite the fact that they're not telling you this, they function in this manner, because they understand by functioning in this manner ensures their survival and furthermore their protection. This is what I've tried to get you Negroes to understand, I would say, within the past 3 to 4 years. But these Negroes want to come to my comment thread and say that he's a simp. And now let's just go ahead and deal with what took place with Kevin Samuels, because I left an audio that I let y'all listen to before I actually started this video. And I guarantee you, many of you Negroes who listen to that will not furthermore understand the reason why I dislike Kevin Samuels. The things that Kevin Samuels says diametrically opposes what I believe in. That's the issue that I have with him. I don't disagree with everything that he says. As a matter of fact, for those of you who are running around saying, well, show me where he was wrong as far as what he was saying to that woman, I stated in the last video, I actually agree with him. However, I would ask the question, where is the relevance? So some of y'all might say, well, okay, what do you mean when you say relevance? Simple. Relevance. The point that I'm trying to make is, who knows this girl that he was talking to? Now, the first thing y'all say is, well, she was disrespectful. Okay, let's deal with that for a second. You must have not looked at the whole thing. The video was only 22 minutes long. There was not much to look at. But as I sat back and I listened to it, for those of you who say she was disrespectful, you ask them, okay, what was disrespectful about what she did? Oh, see, she called in at a time when she wasn't supposed to call in. This is what they state, even though Kevin Samuels is an adult and can run his program the way he feels fit. Now, if he had a problem with it, he could have stuck to his initial guns and say, you know what? Call in after you book an appointment. Once you book an appointment, then we can sit down and have a discussion. He could have stuck with that. He chose not to. Furthermore, Kevin Samuels decided to use this as a teaching moment. Okay, so it's not like this man didn't get something out of it. Furthermore, his video went viral and he's being talked about all over damn YouTube. So as far as I'm concerned, Kevin Samuels was not disrespected. Not based off of that. Off of her calling in, no. So then what these Negroes say, they get upset because she was on her phone. Okay, I can see how that can be considered disrespectful. I'm not going to argue that. But when you look at this female, you understand that she's not all there in the head. Y'all do understand this, don't you? Furthermore, a lot of y'all feel upset when she says, well, I want a guy with a 6-figure income. That's disrespectful to most of y'all. Well, according to most of you black men online, you couldn't fool me, because according to what y'all try to put forth in a narrative is that y'all make 6 figures and better. So according to what y'all say, and even though we can't see these black men for the life of me, but this is what the Negroes are saying. So what I'm trying to figure out is, how do y'all get offended now if she says she wants a man with a 6-figure income, and according to what you say, well, y'all make 6 figures and better? This is the shit I don't understand. Furthermore, if that's what she wants, she can want what she wants. It doesn't necessarily mean that she's going to get it. And no, it is not disrespectful for somebody to say, mention what they want. I could say I want a huge mansion in the hills of Hollywood. It's not disrespect for me to want this. Doesn't mean I'm going to necessarily get it. See, that's a whole nother story. I could say, hey, I want to own the Empire State Building. It's not disrespectful for me to want that. Some might say that's kind of unrealistic. Okay. I get that. And even though I want it, it might not necessarily mean that I actually end up getting it. This is what I want y'all to think about. So what you have are black men who are getting offended by minuscule nonsense. And the fact of the matter is this, as I stated in the last video, if that's what she wants, okay, I'll simply say, if that's what you want, what are you going to do to go about getting it? In my opinion, she's below average. That's just my opinion. You're sitting there with a head full of laced-in weave, and come on. If you're looking for that, once again, man, I'm not here to really rag on this female, but y'all are under the impression that I'm trying to encourage black men to go about dating single mothers. It literally makes no goddamn sense. So here's where I would classify relevance, because what I looked at, she didn't disrespect it. Now, if you want to talk about her being on the phone is disrespectful, fine. If you want to talk about her giving guys beneath her a chance, fine. You could say that, but according to many of you Negroes, y'all are not beneath her, because according to y'all, every last one of y'all makes 6 figures and better. So that's not even applicable to y'all. Anyhow, let me just mention this much right here. For those of you who think she disrespected him, I'm going to tell you this much. If Kevin Samuels decided to email her and say, listen, I don't like the way that conversation went between the two of us, why don't you give me a call and we can sit down and have a one-on-one personal discussion. You're in North Carolina, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. Anytime you come down to Atlanta, come see me. If Kevin Samuels wanted to, I ain't got to say anything else. Y'all know the rest. If Kevin Samuels told that female, keep your damn mouth shut as I'm talking, she would have got quiet. Because a female that's going to sit back and let a man that she does not know talk to her like that, and listen, we know the reputation of many black women, they wouldn't even let somebody, their own husband, speak to them like that. So when you got a female letting a random man that she don't know speak to her like that, come on, what does that say? But once again, these black men classify this as disrespect. What I'm gathering behind this is you Negroes are trying to justify what you've seen. And listen, once again, I'm not saying that he was wrong in what he was saying. He gave her a harsh reality check. It is what it is. But the question that I would ask is relevance. I need to see some relevance. What do you mean when you say that? Okay, fine. I'm going to break that down for you right now. Because what I want to know is how many people know of this woman? How many people know who she is? Is she on social media? Does she have a YouTube page where she's pushing agendas? Basically what I'm saying is, had Kevin Samuels spoke like this to a Cynthia G on his program, that would have been justified. No complaint out of me. Had Kevin Samuels spoken like this to a Crystalline Carrison, which she actually called into his program at one point in time, and as a matter of fact, he modded her up, gave her a wrench. My question is for you Negroes who are running around classifying me as a simp, who I've been going in on these females for years. Is Kevin Samuels not a simp for modding up Crystalline Carrison on his panel? But y'all didn't say nothing about that now, do you? Had Kevin, now, if anything, Crystalline Carrison, this would be warranted for him to go on her in such a way. For if this had been her running partner, Kendall St. Charles, also known as Brooklyn Blue, this would have been justified. Had this been an Oprah Winfrey, this would have been justified, or Yanni Red, or any of these other females who speak certain narratives to the public. This verbal lashing would have been justified. Why? Because the one common denominator with all of these females is they're pushing propaganda, negative propaganda about who? Black men. That's what that is. Now, furthermore, What I mean when I ask for relevance, does she have social? We know she has a social media account, but what I'm asking y'all is there any proof of her being out here denigrating black men, talking about hashtag level up, the same bullshit that April Mason is pulling? If she's out here pushing these talking points, then we can say more so that that's justified. If she's just a random female that just wants to have access to a six-figure income man, no, I'm sorry, that's not disrespectful. For y'all to find yourselves getting bent out of shape behind that, that's ridiculous. So once again, if any of you can actually showcase where she has actually exuded a real level of disrespect toward black men in the lights of the females that I just referenced a little while ago, until you can actually prove that, listen, all this disrespect shit, I'm really not even trying to hear it. Because that energy would be more or less warranted toward any of the other names that I just referenced a little while ago. Why? Because they push negative propaganda about black men. Now, let's get into this audio, okay? Because I told y'all before, when it comes down to Kevin Samuels, I told you I don't like him. And I've given you the reason for that. And the reason that I've given you is because he doesn't feel no need to do anything to build a black community. And I'm not saying for him to fix any damn community, but what I'm telling to any of y'all who look at yourselves as something to be a force to be reckoned with, why are you not linking up with other like-minded black men? And this is something that I've been asking black men for quite some goddamn time. Because you are only as strong as your collective tribe. It doesn't matter whether you think you are a six-figure income man or a quote-unquote high-value man. If you do not have a strong collective tribe behind you, you are easily picked apart. And what I've sat back and listened to Kevin Samuels state in one of his live streams is, why should we do anything for the younger generation of black men? This is what he stated, but yet y'all looking at him as a dating coach. Yet you're looking at him as some kind of a life coach who doesn't believe he needs to do anything to help his own collective tribe. Now, when I say this, I'm not talking about Pookies and Ray Rays. I'm talking about other like-minded black men. If you don't believe that this is of any importance within all of these years of what we see taking place right now, then listen, y'all got a serious problem. And I guarantee you, many of y'all still have not picked up on what my issue is with the audio insert that I let you listen to at the beginning of this video. So let's go ahead and deal with that for a second. He talked about women making sacrifices, and we know we're talking about black men and black women. That's who he was talking to, was a black woman. Are you willing to move? Are you willing to change religions? Are you willing to do this? Are you willing to do that? Now, certain sacrifices, fine. I can dismiss every sacrifice that he just mentioned except one. If you have a child, are you willing to give sole custody of the child to the father? Now, many of y'all still aren't going to get this. But when I told y'all what I am is pro-black empowerment, when I listen to a black man saying some shit like that, which actually leads to the furthermore destruction of the black family structure, what that showcases for me is that Kevin Samuels diametrically opposes what I stand for and what I believe in. That's what that lets me know. The fact that he is giving women advice who might or might not have children, telling them that if you're trying to get a high value man, you are supposed to want a high value man so much that you are supposed to be willing to sacrifice your own flesh and blood. Now, first of all, when we understand the parental deficit in the black community to begin with, most black children are reared in single parent homes. We know this. And here we have, or what you classify as an educated, quote unquote, high value black man, sitting back and furthermore encouraging black women to go out and do the very same thing that already leads to the condition in which we have right now in black society. Now, if a mother is willing to go up and say, you know what, well, first of all, most black women wouldn't even have that option. Because unfortunately, you have a lot of black fathers who are not in the household. Or if they are in the household, are just not in a position where they can actually take care of a damn child. Especially with everything going on in this day and age right now. So when you're listening to somebody like a Kevin Samuels sitting back and encouraging a woman to abandon her responsibilities, to abandon her flesh and blood. I mean, how is it that on one hand, you Negroes sit up here and y'all are so against abortion, but yet you don't view this shit as a fucking problem? But once again, what I'm doing is, in this video, is I'm exposing y'all hypocrisy. And that's what I'm seeing is the hypocrisy amongst black men. And when you have Negroes who are hypocrites to this level, it's no wonder you can't build a black society. It's no wonder we don't control anything in our own fucking community. It's no wonder. And when you try to point this out to black men, what they're going to sit here and do is say that you're sipping. I made a 2-hour and 13-minute video, and the Negroes leapfrogged a large chunk, which most of the video wasn't even about Kevin Samuels. But they're sitting there so stuck on what I said about Kevin Samuels, that the message that he's pushing is flawed. When I say that you're wasting time going back and forth, attempting to debate with women, you are wasting your fucking time. Some of you Negroes were the same ones that were upset with me with stuff that I said back in the day, in older videos. How could you say this? How could you co-sign this happening to such and such? Y'all could sit back and have a problem with that, but you don't view this as a goddamn problem. That right there lets me know when Kevin Samuels says, you know what? Are you willing to give custody of your kid to the dad? Sole custody. No, you need to have joint custody. That's what that needs to be. And for those of you who want to talk about, oh, you are dating a single mother. Stop. I stopped dating single mothers years ago. The reason why I decided to stop dating single mothers is because what I've seen behind single mothers is many of them are neglectful of their children. That's the biggest turnoff to me as a man. That's simple. Because if you're with a woman, and listen, I don't knock a woman that becomes a single mother. You have one child out of wedlock. You know what? You shouldn't have done it. It is what it is. Are you willing to learn behind your mistakes? This is the way I looked at it at one point. And there was a point in time, and this was back in I think it was in 2011. I said to myself, you know what? I'm done dating single mothers. And I started to actually say this in a video. And actually, I've tried to record the video on several different occasions. I realized no matter what I say, it just doesn't come out sounding right. It doesn't. Me saying this in a video that I just don't date single mothers, it just didn't sound right. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to let my actions do the talking for me. I don't have to go out and make an announcement. It's just like when somebody wants to unsubscribe from your channel and they want to come to your comment thread, I'm unsubscribing. That's stupid. Just go ahead and do it. You don't have to make a fucking announcement. You see, I'm a man of action, not one who believes in spewing too many damn words. But the reason why I stopped dating single mothers, and it was one in particular I was dating, and I noticed how she would always say, well, the kid is at my cousin's house or my brother or my sister. But I noticed anytime I ever came to a house, there was no adult there other than her. And I would notice even when it came down to just certain things that she did was completely irresponsible and reckless. And the reason why I said, I can't continue to date somebody like this, because I got to think, if you would be this reckless when it comes down to your child with some other dude, then imagine if you have my child and we don't work out, and you out dating some other guy, and you leaving the kids over at your at your house by yourself while you at some man's house. You see, this is the reason why I say no, I won't date single mother. I mean, there's other reasons as well, but that's probably the biggest turnoff, is when a woman is willing to abandon her child to go be up under a man. That's a real fucking problem for me. That's a turnoff for me. A woman like that should not be rewarded as far as I'm concerned. So many of you Negroes, when y'all sit up here, are you dating a single mother? No, there's reasons why I stopped dating them years ago. These are the reasons why. Y'all don't know what y'all talking about. But the one thing I would never encourage a single mother to do, just because I wouldn't date them, is I would never encourage them to go out and start abandoning your damn children so you could get a quote-unquote high-value man. That is some of the most ridiculous shit I've ever heard of in my life. But unfortunately, I've heard of you black men saying shit like this before. That you would be comfortable. Oh yeah, if you ain't got custody of the kid and is at the dad's house all the time, that's good for me and you, because now we get to spend time doing whatever we want. That doesn't disturb you. Now it's another thing if you are a man who doesn't want kids. But see, a lot of you Negroes will have a problem with her being a single mother, but then again, you want to knock her up with your seed. This is how a lot of y'all operate. A lot of you Negroes are flat out dysfunctional. You Negroes make no goddamn sense. And then there's other things where you listen to these quote unquote high value black men where it becomes a damn joke. The Negro will sit up here and talk about dating 18-year-olds. Now, I've heard Obsidian say this. I've listened to him on a panel with Nyla Says, Taz Exclusives, and a few other women talking about dating an 18. Obsidian is in his 50s. He's in his 50s. He first came on to YouTube back in 2015. I believe he was in his early 50s at that time, so which means he's probably about 55 now. And just like I asked you Negroes in the last video, what would you, as a man in your 50s, have in common with an 18-year-old? What? Outside of sex, what else can you do? I mean, I'm not talking about for those of you who might have went out to a club, got drunk, and this hot young girl came on to you, and y'all went to a hotel room and did y'all thing, come to find out she was 18 years old afterward. That's a little different. I'm talking about a man, a grown-ass fucking man in his 50s, who's seeking out an 18-year-old for companionship, trying to court an 18-year-old. It makes absolutely no goddamn sense. So then let's just deal with another piece of hypocrisy from this Negro. Because it really starts to conflict with one another because I'm going to put these two together. So the Negro states, if you ask the Negro, especially these SYSBM Negroes, all that is an acronym for these Negroes love them some white women. And the Negro who found himself leaving that comment on my video, first of all, you should know I don't support SYSBM. I'm not about that. So why would you even find yourself in my comment thread stating that dumb shit, and what furthermore elaborates on what I just said, that this is an acronym for black men who pretty much just want some white women. This same Negro, which I'm going to conclude that he's an older Negro, and as I told y'all got to be real careful with these older Negroes, who stated how when I was younger, so many German women like me, them German girls, they love me. So let's just tie that in. SYSBM. The Negro is talking about how German women loved him when he was younger. I mean, this right here substantiates what I've already stated. But if the Negro understood the environment that he was in, he would know that that is not my forte. You will never find me promoting that, period, ever. That's just not what I do. So now if we were to sit this Negro down and ask the Negro, okay, listen, let's get an understanding here on why is it that you like to date white women. The Negro's then going to turn around and say, well, you know, the reason why I like to date them white women because she a freak in the bed. She let me be the man. That's what it is. She let me be the man. Okay, so she let you be the man. And what else? She a freak in the bed. She let me do whatever I want. Okay. So she gives you whatever you want in the bedroom. Okay, so why is it that you don't like dating black women? Because they're too promiscuous, they're sexually active, they got bad attitudes. Okay. Oh, she don't let me do what I want to do with her in the bed, so that's why I get with the white girls. Okay. So let's just look at that for 1 second. She doesn't let you do what you want to her in the bed. So she's not a freak. But at the same time, you don't want to date her because she's sexually promiscuous. That kind of contradicts the reason why you go out here and date white women. And it furthermore contradicts the reason why you're out here seeking 18-year-olds. I mean, first of all, if you're dealing with a woman who is a freak in the bed, you do understand that typically that comes with experience, especially if she's good at what she's done or what she does. She learned from actually getting her hands, her lips, her mouth, whatever you want to classify. She got all that dirty to get that level of experience. You do understand this now, don't you? You see, when you talk to this Negro about this Negro can't figure this out. You do understand that your phallus isn't the only one that she's hopping up and down on, bouncing on, sucking on. What you do understand this, don't you? Don't you? But see, now, as long as she's not black, she gets a pass. And the point that I'm trying to make here is, listen, Negro, the standards that you have with one group of women, you need to have that all across with every group of women. See, I know you Negroes don't like this, because what I'm doing is I'm calling out your fucking hypocrisy. You Negroes are hypocrites, and this is part of the reason why you are not being taken seriously. This is part of the reason why you have other races of women saying, you're really not a prize, Negro. This is part of the reason why you're getting the backlash that you're getting, and you Negroes are making all of us look hella bad right now. This shit is embarrassing. So now, furthermore, if the reason why you are dating a white woman is because she's a freak in the bed, she's submissive, lets you do whatever you want to, she lets you be the man, and she's a freak in the bed. Did I mention she's a freak in the bed? Okay, you mentioned it. Okay, oh, she's a freak in the bed. Okay, I understand. Oh, by the way, she's a freak in the bed. I got that. So, Negro, if this is why you look for a white woman, which that comes with experience, then how do you explain now going ahead and looking for a girl who is 18 in her early 20s? How do you explain that and you're a man in your 50s? And I'm talking about for any of y'all who think like this. Now, let me make this perfectly clear. I'm not knocking somebody or an older man for wanting a younger woman. In your 50s, you can look for somebody who's 45, 40, 35, 30, anywhere from the mid to upper 20s. I would say that's probably where you should stop. My recommendation is probably that you don't go below 35 years old. Why? Because the woman has more experience. She has more life experience. She at least knows how to hold her own down, or should know this. But when you listen to the Negro who wants to go ahead and get with an 18-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 21-year-old, there's something questionable about that. But when you listen to all of the Negro's reasons as of why he wants to go ahead and date white women, and then you factor it in, because when he's talking about getting an 18-year-old, he's not talking about getting a white girl. And I'm going to tell you the reason why he's not talking about getting a white girl. Because he knows he can't take his black ass over into the white community, where she's coming from a two-parent home, and here you are coming in your old beat-up Cadillac, sitting in their damn driveway, in Amber's driveway, and both of her parents are looking at, who the hell is this Negro, this older, washed-up Negro, showing up, who are you here to see? He knows what's going to happen to his black ass. If he does, it's his black ass. If he don't get shot, he's going to get locked up. So we know when he's talking about getting him something younger, he's talking about a black female. Because these are the ones who are going to be more susceptible, because they only have, typically, there's only one parent raising them. So now, Negro, what I'm asking you is, if you, first of all, what do you have in common mentally? How are you compatible mentally with an 18-year-old? She's still talking about Ugg boots and pink nail polish. Your mind should be well advanced beyond that. She might still be into Barbie dolls and doing foolish things. Once again, Negro, what do you have in common with an 18-year-old when you're in your 50s? Now, we're not talking about somebody who's 25 years old. That's a little different. We're talking about men who should be well-rounded by now and have plenty of experience. Men who are in their 50s, and this is the group of men that I'm talking to. For those of you who want to run around and say, well, I want me somebody who's in their teens. Obsidian wants one because she's hot. That's what he stated in the live stream. So my question once again is, what do you have in common with a female this young? How do you look? Pulling up in a driveway or a parking space to go to an apartment building to go meet up with your 18-year-old girlfriend, where before you can even greet her, you're going to be greeted by her mother, whether it be a single mother or whether she have two parents in the household. How does that look? Furthermore, how does it look now when you're trying to take your 18-year-old girlfriend out and the parents are telling you, yeah, you need to have my daughter home before dark? Or how does that look when you're sitting on the living room couch and the brother's looking at you funny? Parents looking at you funny? How does that make you feel? How does it make you feel when you try to take your 18-year-old girl to a bar or some sort of lounge and she can't get in because she's underage, or you can't buy her a fucking drink? How does that make you feel? How would you feel if you're out with your 18-year-old girlfriend and her parents are calling you talking about you need to drop off my daughter immediately because she has an exam to take at school tomorrow? How do you feel? That you're dealing with a female who is not even fully available to you. How would you feel? I mean, would you hang out with her and her 16, 17-year-old friends? Doing what 16, 17, 18-year-olds do? Hanging out in random parks with no aim, no goals, no nothing? Sitting in a staircase of some random building, smoking a joint. Are you going to find yourself doing that as a man in your 50s? Because this is typically what younger people of that age bracket are doing. And like I stated before, I'm in my late 30s. I won't find myself in that situation. Not necessary. How would you feel as a man in your 50s arguing with your 18-year-old girlfriend, getting into a heated argument? I'm going to tell you how that would make me feel. Because at that point in time, I should be well advanced beyond you. Why do I need to sit up here and allow you to get me this pissed off? I expect an 18-year-old to do what an 18-year-old does, but that I need to have higher expectations of myself as a middle-aged man. See, this is the point that I'm talking about, what you Negroes don't think about. And furthermore, what I want to know for these Negroes who say they want to get them something young, okay, my question is this. We know the reason why you date white women, and we know predominantly because she's a freak in the bed. So with that being stated, what I want to know is, you do realize that if you're dating an 18-year-old, that chances are she can still be a virgin. You do understand this though, don't you, Negro? You do understand this, right? You do understand that this female is probably not going to be as well-rounded as you would want her to be to do all the sexual things that you enjoy. You do understand this, don't you, Negro? Don't you? But this is what you got black men sitting on YouTube talking about. I mean, it is a complete embarrassment when you sit back and you listen to older black men who should be setting an example, who, when you ask them, how come you're not setting examples, they completely exonerate themselves. I ain't my responsibility. I ain't got to do nothing for you younger niggas. You ain't respect us. You ain't do nothing for us. But yet at the same time, they want to dip down into the younger bracket of younger women, which actually intrudes on the younger men, encroaching in their territory. And let me tell you something to these younger men out here who sit back and co-sign these talking points. Let me say something to y'all right now. In many cases, the Negroes that you are listening to do not have children, so therefore they can care less. They don't care whose daughter they stick their penis inside of. Doesn't matter what their age bracket is, as long as she looks good, that's all that matters. And I'm going to tell you something right now. When you hear somebody talking like that, you're not dealing with a man of high value. That is a man with very low morals. It's just that damn simple. But a lot of you younger brothers out here are going to find yourselves to the point where one day you end up having children. Many of you which will end up having daughters. My question to y'all that sit back and co-sign these Negroes saying the dumb shit that comes out their mouth now, how would you feel if you were a father? Now, I'm not a father, but I'm putting myself in that category. How would you feel if you were a father and your daughter finally starts developing, she's approaching the age of 18, or she's 18 years old, fully developed, full-figured, and all of a sudden you got some dusty 55-year-old pulling up outside your driveway in his beat-up Cadillac, coming and talking about he's here to take your daughter out for a date. But you know what he ultimately wants to do is put his penis in your daughter. How would you feel? How are you going to respond to that? You see, this is what you Negroes need to take the time to think about what y'all are not doing before y'all sit back and y'all co-sign foolishness that comes out of any random man's mouth and you think that these people actually give a damn about you. I told you what it is, what I disapprove of with the Kevin Samuels. I've given you another example. And with the advice that he is giving, he is essentially encouraging women to destroy their families. Now, children have no say-so whether they're brought into this damn world or not. That's strictly up to adults, predominantly women, solely women, as far as whether they can be brought into the world or not. Whether she can conceive or not, that's up to the man. But once she conceives, listen, she's the one that has sole control over whether that child can be brought into this world or not. And what you will have showcased is that you have women who are looking at it from the perspective, I deserve my time to be able to relax and mama's got to have a life too. No, fuck that shit. You've already made your damn choice when you had your child. Now, when that child is older and self-sufficient, living on their own, you can go back to having your goddamn life. But when you have a kid, no, the top priority is to make sure your child is taken care of. So when I sit back and I listen to older men saying shit like this, it only lets me know that they've been given fucked up advice time and time again. And a lot of you Negroes who sit back and follow this shit are gonna find yourselves listening to advice that is only to your detriment. But when you talk to people like this, they don't care about black empowerment. They don't care about establishing a coalition. How can we build with other black men so we got some kind of protection? I take you to no greater example than Bill Cosby, a prominent example of a black man who thought he was good. Nothing can happen to me. He started lecturing black men, chastising black men. Where is he at now? Now there was something else that was mentioned in a comment thread, because this is what I've been trying to encourage black men to do. Stop wasting your time going back and forth with females because you're going to get nothing out of them but a bunch of delusion. It is a waste of your time. I would encourage no black man to do this at this point in time right now. I don't do it as often as I used to. Why? Because I've been doing it when I first came onto YouTube and it gets nowhere. Because the one thing you need to understand about people or women, the fact of the matter is, in order to keep them in line, you have to have the ability to reward them when they do the right thing and to punish them when they get out of order. Black men have neither. Now, you might have the means to reward her, depending on what your income level is. But what you can provide for her, guess what? Someone else can provide tenfold. Tenfold. What you Negroes classify as simping is what I would classify as being territorial. And when I say somebody else can provide tenfold, what you have to offer is, listen, black men cannot, I've stated this before, that black men are the last group of men who should run around classifying themselves as high value men. You don't have any power. At any given time, somebody else can decide to shut you down, and that's just what it is. And at this day and age, with everything going on, with COVID-19, this whole vaccination plan that they're trying to roll out, how they are so eager and desperate to get black people on board with this. It just amazes me with everything going on that you black men don't think that there are other things you should be focused in on. And now in many cases, I don't find myself looking at the same content that I once used to look at here on YouTube. I find myself tuning in to educated brothers and sisters who are actually talking about current events, things that are going on in the real world, things that are literally that they're trying to plague the black community with. This is stuff that I find myself looking at. Because at this point, at this day and age, it is absolutely pointless for us to still sit around browbeating females. And listen, you can have talking points that are 100% spot on. They could be 100% spot on, but the fact of the matter is, when you're dealing with these females, in many cases, you're not dealing with people who are logical thinkers. So you are wasting your time. And this is what I mean when I use the analogy, you are attempting to heat a building with open windows. All of your energy is going out the fucking window. It's not being retained. That's what I'm trying to tell y'all, and many of y'all can't figure this shit out. Because we've been doing this for years. Black women have not changed. With all of these discussions, it has not changed them. Why? Because you don't have the predominant influence over them. In order for you to change them, you have to have the biggest hold on them. And we don't. Many of y'all don't understand when I say that to use the term, get me your dad. When the Negroes are saying, well, how are you telling us to challenge a system that you yourself aren't even challenging, which I find that to be ironic, because I've made numerous videos doing this. And yet, once again, the Negroes do not understand the terminology, get me your dad. I'm not going to waste my time talking to one of these swirlers that is out of pocket. Get your dad. Or for some of you who want to cozy up with both parents, get me both of your parents. And I'm not talking about your biological parents. But the fact of the matter is this. What you Negroes would classify as simping, I classify as being territorial. Fact of the matter is this, and I'll give you an example. You as a black man could not show up into somebody else's community. This is what I find funny when you Negroes talk about we need to establish coalitions with other groups of people. That's not going to happen. It isn't. And the reason why y'all say y'all want to do this is because y'all want to be able to have access to their women, and that's not going to happen. Can you imagine your black ass walking into the Latino community, all Latin community, showing up there in that community, walking up in one of them homes and pulling out with one of their finest women? Here, you think you're going to just nonchalantly show up into their goddamn neighborhood, pull out with one of their finest women, get in your damn car with her, and leave. And you think that's going to happen without your black ass being challenged? That will never happen. Why? Because those men are going to confront you. Those men are going to let you know that's not going to go down here. Not here, Holmes. You better chill out with that shit. Go the fuck elsewhere. They're going to let you know that in a second. Likewise, if you go into the white community, for those of you Negroes who love white women so much, and we see the white women that many of y'all pull off, many of y'all are not getting the best. Because if you were, do you think for 1 second that your black ass will be able to show up into a white community and get the top cream of the crop, walking in nonchalantly or pulling in with your car, park your vehicle, go inside of one of the homes or buildings, and come downstairs with this attractive white woman that all of these white men want to get with? Do you think they're going to sit by and let that shit happen without having something to say about that? No. They're going to let you know in a second. That's not going to go down here, homeboy. These women are for us. Likewise in the Arabic community. Now, see, they're not going to tell you this, but I will. So you might even have white men that are coming to my commentary and say, you don't know what you're talking about. No. Listen, they're not going to tell you this, but I will. But if I were to use the terminology and say, hey, if you find somebody walking into your black community, showing up who is non-black, going into one of your buildings or one of your homes, and coming downstairs with one of the most attractive black women in that neighborhood on his side, putting her in his car and driving off with her, that's a problem. That's a serious problem. Now, listen, the way you Negroes are, what y'all gonna sit back and say is, you simp, see a simp says stuff like that. No, that's not what not for one damn second. And since the Negro does not understand optics, he will revert to this as being a goddamn simp. No, it's not a matter of being a goddamn simp. It's not even a matter of you defending her. You can care less about her. What you are doing is you are establishing your territory. This is my territory. You're not going to come in here and have the best access to my resources. That's just not happening. Now, if she wants to date you, we can't stop that. We can't stop that. However, you are not going to show up over here and pull that shit. She's going to have to come to you. So you let her know the same fucking thing. Listen, you're not going to bring this bullshit over here. You're not going to show up with a non-black man coming up into this goddamn neighborhood. Here you are, the finest bitch in the community, but you got a non-black man walking up in here nonchalant dating you. That's not happening. You need to understand that right away. The minute you've done that, you have disrespected every black man in this goddamn community. So therefore, it's not happening. Now, if you want to do it, you can do it. But you're going to have to meet up with him. Get in your car and go drive to his neighborhood. Or get on the bus if you don't have a car. Or have him come meet you someplace else. But he's not coming back over here pulling that bullshit. And the reason why you say this and why you let this be known, because the fact of the matter is, other races of men would not stand for us doing that in their community. Therefore, we will not stand for it going on in our community. We are establishing territory. We are letting the world be known that we are territorial men, that you will not just show up here and do whatever the fuck you want. You will not just show up here and think you are going to have access to our best without thinking we won't have something to say about that. See, those who understand where I'm coming from, they know that talking like that, to those who don't understand it, yeah, you're going to come across as a simp. But to those who know where I'm coming from, who've seen what I've seen, you know that brother knows exactly what the fuck he's talking about. It ain't about a matter of caping for any goddamn body. It's a matter of letting people know, listen, this is my territory. You need to tread lightly when you come up in here. Funny thing is a couple of years ago, Crystal and Karazin tried to give advice to interracial couples, white guys who were dating black women, and said maybe this is just not the time for you to be in certain neighborhoods with your interracial relationships. Now, I'll say this much. I know black men. And if you're talking about them staying out of the black community, listen, they're in no danger if they go into the black community. Them Negroes ain't finna check nothing. Them Negroes will sit back and let that shit go on. Now, as a matter of fact, they might be in more danger in the white community behind white women, depending on the caliber of white man that he is. But if you go into the black community, them Negroes ain't finna say shit. A white guy dating a black female, that ain't finna happen. Them niggas ain't gonna say not a goddamn thing. Why? Because the Negroes are not territorial. That's why. They don't believe in establishing this is mine. So, when we are sitting here talking about, well, you're not checking these systems that you're telling us to check. And here you are, I find it funny because you're the same guy who at one point or another was calling black men monkeys and apes and putting orangutans in the videos. Okay. You know something? Out of everything that was mentioned, that was completely inaccurate, the furthest thing from the truth, this is the first thing that you actually mentioned that is actually true. You were wrong about the single mothers, me dating single mothers. You were wrong about me encouraging black men to date single mothers. You were wrong about me just beating some woman. All that shit is spot on. It's off. You don't know what you're talking about. But this is the first thing that you've actually said that makes sense. So I'm glad this has been referenced, because now I'm going to take y'all down on a journey. Because there's a point in time in every man, every woman's life where you're going to have to look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, are you proud of what you see? And what caused me to look in the mirror is what should cause many of you Negroes to look in that very same mirror. Many of you Negroes are standing on an island by yourself. That's what it is. And I, at one point in time, had to realize this about myself. What do I mean when I say this? There's a point in time when we got to look in the mirror and you got to know whether you are standing on an island by yourself. Now, as far as the talking points that I used to use, the props that I put in the videos, the orangutans, the buckets of fried chicken, pouring the purple Kool-Aid, slices of watermelon and bush little bananas and buttermilk biscuits, all of this stuff, it was entertaining back during those days, absolutely. It was very entertaining. But is this something that I'll do now? No. As a matter of fact, I believe I stopped this, sometime around, I would say late spring, early summer of 2016. I haven't done it. I put a stop to it. It is a reason why. Now let me take you back down to 2014 for a second. Now I made some videos about Michael Brown. The initial video I made shortly after his death, I was actually defending Michael Brown. Then I would say toward the end of that year, 2014, sometime around now, back at that time, I did about face to my initial stance. And I actually condemned Michael Brown. Reason being, because when I listened to Dorian Johnson's story, his story wasn't adding up and it was inconsistent. And number two, the video footage that showcased of Michael Brown robbing the store clerk, or strong arm robbing the store clerk for the cigarillos. Now, what I noticed is when I made that video making about face actually condemning Michael Brown, what I noticed was this. There was a classmate of mine from way back when, from junior high school. White man, owns a HVAC business. Funny thing, he owns an HVAC business, and I know quite a bit about steam heating systems. As a matter of fact, he actually helped me get started with learning how to put together small gravity hot water systems. Pretty much where I would use a bucket and put it on top of a shelf or a cabinet with hot water and just run tubes and pretty much distribute it throughout different areas and have the water return into a return tank. He was the one that showed me how to get the water moving. Now, what I noticed is when I made that video condemning Michael Brown, he had decided to message me. We had been friends on Facebook for a while at that time. And what he stated was, man, I'm proud of you. The video that you made is spot on. This is, I'm glad to see that you see it for what it is. And just pretty much giving me praise for what I was stating in that video. So I responded back to him and said, hey man, listen, here's my number. It's been too long. Let's stay in contact. He responds back with like saying something to me that, well, I'll give you a call when I get a chance. That was late 2014, maybe 6-7 years ago. I have not heard from him ever since. Funny thing is the videos that I make relating to subjects like this are not my most popular videos. The most popular videos that I have on my channel are videos related to boiler topics and showing boiler operations. Those are the most popular videos that I have on this channel. It's been like that for many years since I've been uploading them. Funny thing is that actually corresponds with his field of HVAC. Out of all those good videos that I've produced over the years, you would have figured, hey man, this is some good stuff that you made. I see that you took this whole heating system thing to another level, man. Let's sit down and exchange knowledge on these systems. Not one time did he do this. Now, why was it that out of nowhere, then when I made a video condemning Michael Brown, and I remember the title of that video was Hands Up, Don't Shine. That's the title I named it. Why was all of a sudden you felt the need to message me based off of that video? Then it started to dawn on me, which I also remembered I had a lot of white men who loved the content that I was producing at that time. They loved it. It was hilarious. It was funny to them. This is what it was. Now, listen, I'll say this much. The content was funny. It still is funny. But is it something that I would do now? Absolutely not. Now, furthermore, when it comes down to my position on Michael Brown, I did about face and I condemned Michael Brown at that time. Now, where do I stand with it? I really don't know. Jesus Christ, you know what? Let me just... See, this is what we're dealing with here. Anyhow, we're not going to get caught up with that. Hopefully this Negro just goes on someplace else, go take that shit on the I-95 and go let it rip there. Obviously, he's not doing that. So let me try to continue this video. The initial or the about face position that I put forth for Michael Brown, the hands up, don't shine. Where do I stand now? I would say I stand somewhere in between. I'm neutral. Why? Because I cannot conclude what actually happened to Michael Brown that day. Do I think he made some bad choices that led to that could have been avoided? Yes, I do. But am I going to sit up here and speak from the perspective as if I were actually there to see how Darren Wilson's actions were and the way he conducted himself, and did he use problem-solving tactics? No, I'm not going to say that way. I wasn't there. So therefore, I'm not going to judge it. I'm just not. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remain mutual of it. The reason being is because we know, and what I've realized is that the mainstream media lies to black people on so many different levels, it's not even funny. So therefore, I don't trust much of anything that comes from the mainstream media. I just don't. They show, and the funny thing is, even with the footage of him strong-arm robbing a store clerk, they showed this footage about a month later. After the incident happened, we know how they tried to portray Michael Brown. He was a gentle giant. He was this, he was that. He would give you the shirt off of his back. Why not showcase the truth right as it happened, unless maybe it didn't happen at that particular point in time? Who knows? What I'm saying is I don't know. So therefore, I'm remaining neutral. But I found it strange how a man who pretty much I grew up with hadn't reached out to me for any other reason except for that one reason. That was strange. Furthermore, I've realized how a lot of people were loving those videos that I was putting forth. Having the orangutan sitting in the videos, the bushel of bananas, locking up the monkey in a cage, throwing buckets of Popeye's crispy chicken, slicing watermelon. Well, I ain't sliced no damn watermelon, but pouring Kool-Aid. Buttermilk biscuits. I mean, it was funny. I'm going to say that's what it was. It was entertaining at that time. But would I do it now? No. Why? Why would I not do this now? It's a good question. I'm glad you asked that. Because at some point or another, I had to realize that I'm standing on an island by myself. What do I mean when I say this? When I'm standing on an island by myself, I had to realize that shit, I'm by myself. So once I realized I was by myself, then what I needed to do is go ahead and look in the goddamn mirror. And like I said, there's a point in time in every man, in every woman's life, where you're going to have to look in that mirror and ask yourself, are you proud of what you see? And since I refuse to not be proud of what I see, then that means something's got to change. So now, let me bring it back for a second. What do I mean when I say I'm standing on an island by myself? I've called out the hypocrisies within black people for years, black men for years. I've made brilliant points over the years. I don't turn away from every single point that I made back in those days. A lot of those points are still spot on. However, would I go about doing it in the manner in which I did back then now? No. Why? When y'all talk about, well, you talked about calling black people monkeys and et cetera, et cetera. Well, I kind of given y'all an indirect explanation years ago. And I told you there was a certain set of talking points that I'm no longer going to use ever again. And I used to use them. You will never hear me use the term, what about black on black crime? I've given y'all an explanation behind that. I don't use that terminology for a reason. Why? Because you are standing on an island by yourself. What is that island by yourself? Look at other races of people. Look at the crimes that they commit and the horrific things they do to one another. However, you will never hear them condemning each other in such a way. What about Hispanic on Hispanic crime? There's no such saying. What about white on white crime? There's no such saying. What about Asian on Asian crime? There's no such saying. Why? And if we just deal with whites for an example, you see what's going on with in these elections with the politicians. We see this. These are a bunch of white men fighting for power. It's a grasp for power. They will throw each other under the bus. They will slander each other. They will put out false information about one another. But the one thing they will not do is condemn each other based off of race. They won't. You will never hear white men using derogatory terms that were meant to degrade them or dehumanize them and using that toward one another. And that's when I had to realize I'm standing on an island by myself, because here I am as a black man saying shit like this, using words that were meant to dehumanize black men and women. And now listen, man, I'll say this much here. I'm not perfect. I'm no damn saint. You done heard me use the N-word in this video time and time again. So I'm not perfect. So if somebody wants to call me out on that, then fine, I got to own it. If it walk like a duck, quack like a duck, guess what? It's a fucking duck. So listen, it's a matter of being a damn man and taking accountability. I'm not perfect. However, those terminology and that language, I won't use again. However, would I still be disrespectful when I see blatant stupidity, especially out of black men? Absolutely. And I don't say this as a means of being funny. At that time, I was looking to be funny. I'm not looking to be funny anymore, because this is not funny. But back to the point that I was making. So when I realized that I was standing on an island by myself, that other races of people do not do this, I had to take a look in that goddamn mirror and say, okay, you know what? The easiest thing in the world that I can do is sit up saying this about black people. Not that it's wrong to critique black people. Not that it's wrong to criticize black people. I can do that. But in the manner in which I was doing it in, that I will not do anymore. And like I told you, there's a certain set of talking points that I will not use. You're not going to hear me talking about black on black crime. You're not going to hear me using those terminologies of monkeys, apes. I'm not using them anymore. You're not going to find me using terminology like fair and balanced. I'm done with that. There are certain talking points that are not going to come out my mouth. Why? Because once I've taken a panoramic view and analyzed the world around me, this is what I mean when I say black men, you lack analytical skills. At one point, I did. And I had to realize I got to get this shit together, because I am the only one sitting around doing this, and this looks flat out fucking crazy. And I know I'm not fucking crazy. So therefore, I got to chill out with what the fuck I'm doing. I can call you Negroes out. That's not an issue. But am I going to do it in a way where other races of people can sit down and get a good laugh, get their popcorn, and be entertained? Fuck that. That will never happen again. I'm not here to entertain other people. When I'm talking to y'all, I'm trying to put some sense in your goddamn head, because what I'm seeing is your focus is skewed. You are focusing in on the wrong things. So when Negroes are calling me a simp, no, Negro, you are focusing in on the wrong things. This gets you nowhere. What I'm trying to do is get you to redirect your focus. Now, if y'all don't want to do it, then listen, this ain't the channel for y'all. Don't show up over here. Kevin Samuels can care less about black empowerment. He doesn't give a shit about it. Now, if this is what he's on, then fine. But a lot of y'all sit back and listen to people who can care less. A lot of y'all probably follow the Black Authority, listen to Jason Black, and then y'all want to come over here and have a problem with what I'm saying about Kevin Samuels. How the hell do you support Jason Black, but yet you have a problem when I'm condemning another black man who does not care about black empowerment, who does not care about the younger generation, who is literally telling black women, abandon your fucking responsibilities with your children so you can go get you a high value man? How do y'all have a problem with that? It makes absolutely no goddamn sense. So now I got to run down a couple of examples here. I should title this segment of the video, The Man in the Mirror. In 2010, a video was brought up to my attention that went viral. And it was of an older white guy beating down a black man on a public bus. And the video was titled, "This older white guy beats down this black dude, a young black dude." Many of y'all seen the video, some of you might have forgotten it, but the fact of the matter is, just to make it perfectly clear for those of you who thought that was a younger black dude, that dude was not young. The guy, the white guy, I think he was 65 years old. The black dude was 50. He was 50, and when I took a look at him and I seen the glasses, I said, "That's an older face." Then after that, he shortly had an interview after he got his ass whooped and said, "Listen, a lot of y'all think I'm young, I'm 50. So this was an older man. But what I noticed, this is pretty much what happened. Y'all seen the video footage of what happened. The white guy was talking about getting a spit shoe shine. The black man got offended. You know, the white guy walked up and tried to get off the bus. The black dude followed him. Of course, there was a female hyping him up. And when that black dude confronted that white guy, the white dude beat the shit out of him. Now, when I seen the video, it was funny. I laughed at it. Many black men had made memes out of that. They made parodies and skits out of it because it was funny to black people. It was funny to black people watching a black man get his ass whooped by a white dude. This is how far off we are as a goddamn collective. It lets me know that we don't have no code of operating procedure. So we sit back and we will laugh at one of our own getting the shit kicked out of them. Now listen, we can critique the black guy and say, "Man, listen, guy, that was stupid to go ahead and pick that fight." We can say whatever, but to sit back and laugh at a black man getting his ass whooped by a non-black dude, when you really think about it, and once you analyze the world in which I have, you realize that there was some shit that was off with me that I had to get together. And it started to come into fruition back in 2016. So this can furthermore explain why I don't use these talking points that I once did. Another example. I believe it was a year earlier, in 2009. I'm watching an Asian guy have a battle rap with a black guy. Now you have both two teams, the Asian team and the black team. And throughout the battle rap, the Asian guy ends up getting the better of this black dude. A fight breaks out, and throughout all the midst of the chaos and everything getting scurried around all over the place, out of nowhere, the two that were battling each other, you see this Asian guy who wasn't on the camera, who turned out of nowhere, just flips out and does a spinning heel kick and fly kicks this dude right in the face, knocks him on the ground. When I looked at it, I could not stop laughing. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. It was hilarious. Thing is, I didn't realize how flawed my mindset was at that goddamn time. Now, here's the reason why I say it was a flawed mindset. Because here I was as a black man, watching black people in a battle rap. Now, raps and battle raps, that's our shit. Hip hop, that's our shit. That's not for everybody else. You're gonna have other people say this, it's not for them. The problem is we have allowed other people to get comfortable in our spaces. Why? Because we're not territorial. But they do not do the same for us. And at what point in time do we begin to see this for what it is and get focused like a goddamn laser and put a shutdown to this? But back to what I was saying. Here I was as a black man with other black friends of mine sitting back laughing at this. A black man getting the shit kicked out of his ass once again by somebody non-black. Now, that was over 10 years ago. Like I said, I started to see shit for what it was back in 2016. Now, Brian Solange made a video that alluded to something similar to this. I believe it was on BitChute. And he showcased a video of an Asian guy and a black man. You had a bunch of black men inside of this Chinese store or some shit like that. And this Asian dude was talking about how he would beat the shit out of this black dude. You bitch ass nigga, I'll fuck you up. You had a bunch of black men standing around as this happened, watching an outsider who's in your community, setting up shop in your community, making money off of your community, while talking about he's gonna fuck up one of your own. And you had a bunch of black men standing around watching that shit, that thought this was funny. You see, when other groups of people see us doing dumb shit like this, they're laughing at us. They know we are a fucking embarrassment. Furthermore, we're cowards. Because you could not dare set up a shop in their fucking community and be talking to one of them like that. They're not gonna let that happen. You're gonna be ran out that community within the next 24 hours. You done. Pack it up. Get the fuck out. Let's go. You're done. But we are the only ones who sit back and find something like this entertaining, and we literally don't see nothing wrong with this. We don't. And at some point or another, you got to realize that you were standing on an island by yourself. And once you realize this, you have to operate in a different means. I can't operate like this. This is ridiculous. I'm doing a disservice to my fucking race. Because other groups of people would not sit back and laugh at shit like this. It's not funny to them. Do you think a group of white people are going to laugh at a black man, some 65-year-old black man beating up on a 50-year-old white dude? They're not going to laugh at that. That's not funny to them. Even if the dude deserved it, they're not going to laugh at it. Do you think Asians would sit back and watch a black man who has a store set up in their community talking about he's going to beat the shit out of one of these Asians? And they all sit back and watch it and laugh. Do you think they're going to do that? No. Do you think a black man's going to go into their culture of martial arts, disrespect them, kick the crap out of them in their own territory, while a group of them sit back and watch that shit and laugh? They're not doing that. They're not. And this is what we have to start to understand as black people. We are the only group of people who would look at some shit like this and think that it's funny. And it's not. Now, another example that I want to reference is Tree of Logic. I don't know too much about the woman, but I've seen some of her content, but I know she has been going on a rampage on Jam Master Jay. This is a guy who was a part of the Run DMC group, if I'm not mistaken. And he was trying to get black people to exercise their Second Amendment rights. Now, I know there were many black people who criticized him, critiqued him, they took him as a joke. And listen, that's perfectly fine. However, I do support him supporting the Second Amendment right for black people. That should be a right for us. It's self-defense. Having access to firearms. That should be a right for anybody who falls within that criteria. We know what recently has taken place with Jam Master Jay. He has found himself locked up. Now, furthermore, when I'm sitting back listening to what happened, why was he locked up? They stated that he pointed a gun at an FBI agent, assault and resisting arrest, and a whole bunch of other charges. He is looking at 20 years in prison, if I'm not mistaken. Now, when we seen the footage of him pointing or supposedly pointing his gun because some FBI agents were on a roof of a building, all you see is him pointing the gun in the air. We don't know what he's pointing that gun at. This is what we see. But yet they're saying that he pointed the gun. Okay, I would ask, would any of these FBI agents, did they have a body camera on them at some point or another? Can we see that he's actually pointing the gun at one of these agents? Or do we know this, or are we just going off of what we see in this footage? The next thing they mentioned, when we asked the assault, okay, what kind of assault? Eye damage. Damn, that sounds pretty severe. If somebody's damaging your eyes, what the fuck happened? Would they try to gouge their eyes out? What do you do? No, that's not what happened. Oh, well, you caused eye damage because the light that was on the assault rifle went into the eyes of an FBI agent. So that's eye damage. Now, immediately when I heard this is why I say I do not trust the mainstream media anymore. That literally makes no fucking sense. It doesn't. And so let me get this straight. If I'm coming down on a highway and there's a car coming in the opposite direction of me and they got their high beams on, they forget to turn them off as they pass by, and it blinds me temporarily, do I get to now press charges for eye damage? But this is how easy it is for a black man to get thrown right inside of this prison system. If you try to exercise any type of power, this is how easy it is for you to be railroaded. Now, Tree of Logic supports the Second Amendment rights. I believe she owns several firearms. I don't know. I don't know much about the woman. But what I do know is she has been ragging on this man and finds this to be absolutely hysterical. She can't get enough of a laugh out of watching a black man get railroaded into the prison system. Now listen, if you want to say his movement is disingenuous, that's fine. You can do that. If you want to say that this guy's a hypocrite, that's fine. But if we're going to sit back and laugh at a black man for getting railroaded inside of the prison system behind some frivolous, made-up, fabricated charges, as far as I'm concerned, the minute I heard that eye damage bullshit and they're equating it to that light supposedly being flashed in the eye of some FBI agent, listen, man, I have no choice but to conclude that these are frivolous goddamn allegations. But to have another black person sitting back and laughing at that shit is absolutely baffling. And like I told you, black people do not understand optics. They don't. Because if they understood optics, they would not engage in the behaviors in which they do. They just wouldn't do it. But yet and still, black people will sit back and find something like this absolutely hysterical. Now, if we would have reversed the roles for a second and say that a group of black men, black male police officers, were doing this to a white group that was standing outside with their guns and holding their gun, do you think for 1 second, if that happened and they got locked up, or one of them got locked up, their leader got locked up, do you think that white men are going to be sitting back and laughing at that shit? Or white women are going to be finding this hysterical? It's not going to happen. You see, because every other race of people understands an operating code of operation. And I'm not one to really talk about code this and code that, because after a while it becomes a goddamn cliche, but they understand some type of unanimous code that we follow. Black people don't understand this. This is why we sit up here and we say things that literally don't make any sense. Now, the term fair and balanced, I used to use those talking points. I don't. Not anymore. Because when you say as a black man or a black woman that you're going to be fair and balanced with somebody else, you got to ask yourself, when you say that to another group of people, they'll probably look at you, oh, fair and balanced with me? I didn't know I had to ask you for permission. Because the fact of the matter is, once again, we don't have any collective power. We don't have any collective power to say I can afford you the ability of being fair and balanced to you. You never had the power to take it away from them. So once you realize that you never had the power to take it away from them, then therefore you can't allot them or afford them this ability that you never had to take from them. So this is another reason why I say no. Fair and balanced, those words, I don't use it out of my vocabulary. Now, maybe when it comes down to black people, yes. But when it comes down to other groups, not for 1 second. Because you never had the power to be able to give it to them or take it away from them. It is just that simple. And if you don't believe me, just take a look at what the politicians are talking about. Whenever it comes down to getting stuff done exclusively for black people. Y'all listen to that quote-unquote leaked audio with Joe Biden? Now, many people just chopped it up, where he was literally yelling and barking on these Negroes. That's what he was doing, telling the Negroes what he was not going to do. You better start learning how to work with Hispanics, because they're going to be the larger majority, larger than you. That's what he said. If y'all can't see the writing on the fucking wall and get what it is, where I'm coming from, that I don't have time to waste on foolishness, on bickering back and forth with goofy ass females online, if y'all can't understand that, I don't know what I can tell you. It lets me know loud and clear what we are dealing with. And there's another, not another example, but let me say this. I found myself listening to a SWP video. For those of you should know who that is, Sergeant Willie P. We know this is one of the founders of this whole, when black men speaking our piece or whatever the case is. And we know back in the days when he first was on YouTube that he used to go in hard in the paint on black women. Now, he had gotten kicked off of YouTube shortly before I had actually gotten onto YouTube. So I came on probably right after he got kicked off permanently. He's back on the YouTube now. And I was listening to, I don't know whether this was an older recording or what, but he was on somebody, I don't know if it was a live stream or Blog Talk Radio or what it was. But we know that his talking points have changed over the years. And he talks about black empowerment. He talks about black economic structure, wealth, resource, which is where I think black men especially need to be. Now, if black women want to sit here and still make videos talking about swirling and level up and hashtag secure the bag, let them do that bullshit. That shit is going absolutely nowhere. This is why they've been running this movement for more than 10 fucking years and have gotten absolutely nowhere. After a while, it boils down to a waste of fucking time. What I'm trying to get you black men to do is learn how to start being more efficient with your energy. So Sergeant Willie P talks about economic resources and structures and things of that nature, patriarch, things that is essential to rebuilding a black society. So I'm sitting down and I'm listening to this blog talk, I think it was, where he's having a discussion. I think you got a black man hosting this whole thing. And he just wants to be on there to crack jokes and get a good laugh. So Sergeant Willie P is having a discussion with a black woman. And immediately she's saying, well, he's telling her that what needs to be done to solve the problem. That black men are not going to build an infrastructure and maintain and protect an infrastructure that we don't control and own. We're just not going to do it. And yes, that is logical. I'm not going to go ahead and build a fucking castle to sit back and tell women, you now get to run that castle and I become subservient to you, a subordinate to you. That doesn't happen. Fuck that. I know how to build the motherfucker. I just build my own. But now sitting back and having this discussion with this woman, what this woman immediately did, she didn't like the way he was talking. Oh, I agree with what you're saying, but you sound like the type that'll beat a bitch's ass. Because what? He's talking about black empowerment? What? Because he's talking from an unapologetic perspective? That listen, I'm not here to cater to your feelings. Fuck your feelings. And listen, man, let me tell y'all something right now. That's exactly where I'm at when it comes down to females. So for those of y'all who are running around classifying me as a goddamn simp, I'll make it blatantly clear. I'm not here to cater to the emotions of women. This is another reason why I tell Ice Cube, listen, you made a mistake going on to that damn chat with them females. You don't waste your time with them bimbos. He made a goddamn mistake sitting down having a discussion with Roland Martin's fat ass. And here you had this fucking female sitting here trying to talk about get in line. No, bitch, move the fuck out my damn way. You have no victories under your belt. You've gotten no accomplishments done. And you mean to tell me get in line if you don't get your funky ass out my damn way? Oh, what you're saying is so offensive. You hurt my feelings. Fuck your feelings. When it comes down to black empowerment, I don't give a shit about nothing else other than meeting the objective. And if that means I got to bum rush your ass to make it happen, then goddamn it, I'll do just that. Listen, when it comes down to survival and winning, there ain't no room to worry about nobody who's gonna be in their fucking feelings. Get the hell out of here with that shit. We need people who are gonna go in there and get shit done. Now, either you gonna assist with the program, or you gonna get the hell out the goddamn way, and that's it. Oh, you're a sexist. Okay, I'll be that. If that's what makes you sleep better at night, I don't care. There's only one thing that I give a fuck about, and that's winning. And if the women are not on board, then listen, get the hell out the damn way. That's where I'm at. This is why I'm not going to sit around debating back and forth with them. But now let me get back to what I was saying. So this female is sitting here getting pissed off with him. And he's talking about building, and she's saying, well, what is it that you want to build? And what I noticed is in the background, this Negro kept laughing. Every time she would say something, it was the funniest thing. Get him, get him. Now I'm exaggerating to a degree, but just to elaborate on the point, this Negro literally found shit funny. Listen, Negro, you're hosting a panel. where you could actually learn something if you shut the fuck up. But since many of you Negroes are so quick to simp for these goddamn females, y'all allow them in spaces where they have absolutely no business being in. And before you know it, the discussion becomes completely diluted. And what you have are women that want to get on that panel and talk about, we're equal to men. Okay, how are you equal? We build too. I know how to use a wrench. I can lay sheetrock. I can lay plywood. Okay, man, stop. What you're doing is you are trying to take the exception and make it into the rule. And that's just not the way it works. You're not going to get me the handful of women who can actually go in there and know a thing or two about plumbing, know a thing or two about electricity, know a thing or two about sheetrocking, building infrastructure, and then tell me somehow you're going to make them that these are the rule because they could just do it better than men. If you have 120 men that are certified boiler builders and burner technicians, and yet you point out 3 women that can serve as burners, they do not become the rule. Furthermore, when you look at it from that set of circumstances, which is essentially what you are going to find, the only way these women could have gotten to the skill set that they have is you had to be taken under the wing by a man. It is that simple. That is the best way I could describe that. So one way or another, you still need men. But what women will attempt to do is, well, I know some welders who are better than the men. And what they'll do is they'll compare a woman who goes in there and is semi-decent at it and compare her to the slackers who go in there and just bullshit. Now, it's not even that these men are bad welders, but they just slack. But if they put their mind to it, they will do a much better job than you do. This is a fact. But if you leave it up to women, they're going to say, well, but we're better than the men. Look at what we do. Just like, and I've had some discussions and arguments with men in certain cases who are bodybuilders, telling me that women are stronger than men. I'm like, guy, you're in a gym all the fucking time. How the hell are you telling me this shit? I can't believe this is coming out your fucking mouth. When was the last time you seen a woman lift an equivalent to weight that you move every damn day in that damn gym? I know what it was like to be in that gym every day at one point in time. I haven't been there in years. Trust and believe I'm going to get back in there. But I ain't never seen no woman lifting the amount of weights that I would pick up every damn day. It just did not happen. I don't give a shit how strong they think they were. If you're doing 15 plates on a leg press machine, I'm doing 25. That's where we're at. But you got some of these dudes who would sit back and say this, and once again, I'm like, guy, where do you get this from? And what they do is they compare apples to oranges. And they'll take a woman that's fit in shape and compare her to a guy who has not been in the gym in years, who's out of shape, who is the first time for him going back to the damn gym or ever going to a gym, and say, see, look, she's outlifting him. She's stronger than him. No. Do not compare apples to oranges. If you're going to take the best, show me the strongest women in that gym and then compare them to the powerhouse of men who were in that gym and put them against each other and see who can outlift who. I guarantee you it will pale in comparison. But now furthermore, as I was listening to this video clip on Sarge's channel, what I furthermore started to notice is that a black man was hosting this panel. They were talking about empowerment, black society. But what I've noticed is that there were white men, or at least one white guy that was in it. Maybe 2, I don't know. There was definitely a white woman that was in it. And I'm thinking to myself, okay. Then the white guy starts to talk and say, no, women are capable of doing this. And the problem is we create this bullshit as men, this macho shit as men, that only men can build and all this other stuff, but women can do this, and all we got to do is just be open-minded and change everything. And, we're all the same race, the same sex, the same gender. This is what this white guy said. Now, had I been on that panel, I'd have called them out and said, listen, you're full of fucking shit. We are not all the same race. We are not all the same gender. We are not all the same sex. So when you say some stupid shit like this, it lets me know that you're being dishonest. And this is coming from a man who's telling you that women can do it too, but yet you come from a patriarchal society. I want y'all to start to understand the talking points that they use when it comes down to black people. And now black people with an untrained mind can't pick up on that. They'll say, hey, you're right, man, we all the same. Mind you now, there is a vast difference between the two. Let's just compare white and black. There is a vast difference between the wealth gap. Okay? A vast difference between who controls every goddamn thing and who doesn't. A vast difference between who's the one making rules, legislations, and laws and calling shots and who doesn't. A vast difference between who's controlling the resources, the money, and intangibles, and who doesn't. So when you hear Negroes sitting up here co-signing bullshit like this, yet and still, you think you are all the same thing, but why is it that their lifestyle is completely different? You go into one of their communities and look at one of yours, and you tell me what's the difference. You see, this is when you know when somebody's being intellectually dishonest, as this white man was. And what I would tell him, listen, don't run that shit on me. Because you do not come from a community that operates in a matriarch. You don't. You will sell this bullshit to our community, but the majority of you are not coming from single parent homes. You're not. There is a reason why you were put at a significant advantage over black people. And this is what black people don't understand, especially you black men. These other groups of people, why they can excel and thrive the way they do, they are put at a significant advantage. Why? Because they believe in passing down the torch. Kevin Samuels does not. He doesn't feel no obligation that, hey man, I need to try to push other younger black men so they could get in the same position that I'm in. They don't believe in that. Obsidians don't believe in that. The only thing they want to do is sit here and browbeat a bunch of females talking about how they some high value men. This is what they do. And yet and still, other groups of people will sit back and co-sign this. They will co-sign this. You black men have led Jesus Christ. Y'all are really playing a dangerous game. Because when I can find myself listening to non-blacks come to my comment thread and saying that there's more than one way into blackness, someone who looks nothing like me saying this shit, when I can find myself having an argument with a Hispanic female on social media, whether it be Facebook or whatever, and she's trying to lecture a black man on what blackness is and that she's black. First of all, listen, bitch, I'm the real fucking McCoy. I'm the real fucking deal. You're a cheap imitation. When you look at me, I'm undeniably black. When we look at you, we know that you are Hispanic or something other. You don't get to now step foot into my fucking territory and claim that you're one of me. You're not. Even if you got some black in you, that one drop rule does not apply over here. You can take that shit on the arches. But this is essentially where we're at in 2020. And oh, by the way, this very same female who is trying to constantly keep explaining to me that she's black, wants to leave me personal messages calling me a nigger. You're a nigger. This is what we're dealing with. You're so black now, but you have no problem using words to dehumanize another black man. See, I'm the real McCoy. You're not. But understand this much, black men. Since you have not established your territory, since you have not let it be known that you are in our shit, in our domain, you need to tread lightly while in here. It is not the other way around. Since you Negroes have not done this, you have all of these other groups of people running around that think they can hold rank in your shit. Not only will you let them in, but you will give them the keys and you will give them a position of power and authority beyond yourself. This is how you black men operate. And when I sit back and try to explain this to you Negroes that you're wasting your time sitting around debating and going back and forth with a bunch of females, y'all gonna sit back and tell me, well, you just simping. No, Negro, I don't think you know what the definition of simping really is. I don't care if Kevin Samuels hurt the feelings of that female that called into his program. As a matter of fact, the audio clip that I let y'all listen to, I believe there was a female on there in the beginning of it. I didn't record all that shit, but I just took the insert that I needed for this video. But at the beginning of that, there was a female saying, did you apologize? And he stated no. And you know where I stand when it comes down to that? If anybody asks, where do you stand if Kevin Samuels should have apologized or not? I would tell you, hell no. He shouldn't apologize. Stand firm on what the fuck you believe in. It is just that goddamn simple. And if there's nothing else I can respect about that man, I will give him respect on that much. Stand firm on what the fuck you believe in. Stop running around catering to what the fuck women want, because what they want is to our detriment. They don't know what they fucking want. They're all over the goddamn place. And it's up to men at some point or another to say, all right, that's enough. Enough is enough of this bullshit. That's how that has to go down. This ain't a matter of catering to no goddamn body. So when you Negroes are sitting back and saying, well, you sound real simpish right now. No, listen to the entire goddamn video. But the one thing I'm not going to be is sitting on YouTube giving people dating advice on how you can learn the dating game. No, it's a game because women are able to enact their bullshit games. Because they have a society that empowers them that they can run right back to after they done acted a fucking fool. That is going to protect them being on the stupid shit that they're on. And once you realize that, you realize you don't need to engage in this game with them. What you black men need to focus on right now are building. And unfortunately, I'm not seeing enough of y'all do this. We got enough issues going on in black society, and when I look at black men, your focus is everywhere else rather than where it should be. And then you wonder why. You can see a situation like a George Floyd. You wonder why somebody like a Bill Cosby is sitting behind bars right now. If you sit back and you listen to the talking points of these damn Democrats, Joe Biden said something that was deeply disturbing to me in that audio. Or in that leaked, well, not the leaked audio. Well, no, it was a couple of things actually. But there was something when you actually look at the entire live stream, the Zoom meeting. He mentioned how when I'm looking at what's going on, there's a lot more brown people. More brown people. What are they telling you? They are trying to usurp you and replace you with this brown coalition bullshit. This is what they're doing. They don't give a fuck about you. This is another reason why they want to vaccinate black people first. Trust our science. Trust the doctors. Fuck that shit, man. Take that shit and shove it up your ass. And everything that's going on right now with this whole COVID vaccine. I mean, you got people who have gotten severely sick off of this. There's a video clip where a white woman passed out shortly after taking the goddamn vaccine. She's a nurse. This is a couple days ago. But they want you to take this. Now, the funny thing that I noticed is that, guess what? You can't find CNN, MSNBC, any of these Fox News, ABC. You can't find none of these mainstream media news talking points talking about this. They don't want you to know this. That's why. They just want you to go ahead and take this damn vaccine. With everything that is facing you black men, what I'm looking for is I'm looking to find black men who are actually focused, who are seeing this, who are paying attention to this. Now, I'm only finding a handful, but a lot of y'all still got your head stuck on stupid. Y'all still worrying about some goofy bimbo's unrealistic expectations. Don't date the bitch. But you got bigger fish to fry right now, rather than worrying about a bitch who wants somebody who makes a $500,000 income. That bitch will end up dying alone. She's not of your goddamn concern. Let reality be her fucking teacher. Let experience be her teacher. But to find black men sitting around harboring on this. Oh, that's disrespectful, man. That's disrespectful. Stop dating her. That's simple. With everything that sits in front of your black ass face, you don't want to acknowledge that. But Negroes are sitting on social media talking about black men get your passport. Black men go to Brazil. Black men go here. Black men go there. It is absolutely fucking embarrassing. What I'm trying to figure out is what does it take for you niggas to finally wake up and smell the goddamn coffee? I'm not going to keep beating this drum because I don't believe in wasting my time, let alone my energy. This is why y'all can't understand the analogies that I use, heating a building with open windows. I don't believe in doing that shit. The windows are open, the heat is shut off. You can fucking freeze as far as I'm concerned. Because I'm not going to waste my energy. What am I saying when I say this? Essentially what I mean is I'm not going to sit here dealing with a group of men who refuse to see the goddamn truth and would rather remain in a comfort state of delusion and foolishness. Would rather remain where we were at 10, 15 fucking years ago. I'm not doing that. There's bigger fish to fry right now. I don't care about what the women are thinking because if they're not on board, then listen, that train leaves the station directly at its timetable schedule. Now, if I'm behind that goddamn throttle, listen, the minute them damn doors close, the minute I see, all right, we supposed to leave at 7:55 p.m., guess what? If you ain't on that motherfucking train, once them doors are closed and I release the brakes and throttle up, guess what? You can come running up the damn stairs. You could be running right along the side of the engine looking at me. Yeah, stop the train. I'm not stopping. You done. You're done. This train is leaving. Now, if you try to hop on board the motherfucker as it's moving, that's going to be good luck to you. But I'm not stopping this motherfucker to let you in. That's how this is going down. And if you Negroes were to actually take that level of approach in your life, guess what? You would have more women that would take you seriously, because these women would know that you mean business. That I'm not here to play fucking games with you. You got a small window of opportunity to get your shit together. And if you're going to be on some foolishness, adios amigos. I'm not going to sit there and play games with you. She can argue, she can cry, she going to be arguing by herself. Let her argue by herself. You don't need to be there arguing with her. If you can't reason with the bitch, you don't debate with her. You don't argue with her. You leave her on her own to sit there and figure it out. Let life be her fucking teacher. It's what I'm telling you, black men. I done dragged this video out long enough. There's a couple of other videos that I want to do, and I would say early January, I want to get, onto the Black Avenger TV website. I want to start taking my content and going elsewhere with it. But anyhow, with that being stated, that is pretty much all I got to say in this video. And I'll catch you on a later date.